it's not about me. It's about the organization, right? What is the best thing for the organization? When I'm out doing my own thing, do whatever I want, right? Like that's my right as a United States citizen to speak my mind. But when you're in charge of a brand and you're in charge of a company, the company has to come first, always.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to this Business Monday episode of A Call to Leadership. On this new 3-part series, Travis and Sam are back as we dive into some really controversial topics related to business decision-making. We're going to highlight major legacy brands, including InBev, which is Anheuser-Busch, Nike, Tampax. Then take the discussion down the rabbit hole. It's going to be a barn burner. It's my hope that we can find common ground to exchange ideas, progress our cause, aiming for greatness, and serving one another, leading others with dignity, respect, not only our shared value, but also for our differences. Fellers, hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon. Good evening.
Good morning. Me and Travis didn't know it was white collared shirt day.
Right? You just had, nobody got the memo, but it was
perfect.
Osmosis. Did you guys beer drinkers?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
No? Have you ever been a beer drinker?
No comment.
Okay.
Nope. I'm allergic to beer.
Yeah. Plus there's like, I don't know, it's like eating 10 candy bars per one. So no, not usually.
Yeah.
Ever.
But I have a lot of beer drinking friends.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. A lot of beer drinking friends.
Yeah. Anyone who drinks Bud Light or they used to drink?
They used to.
I mean, come on, man. Where you're from, they definitely drink Bud Light.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's like a champagne where I'm from.
Yeah. This is so beer is Natty Light, probably.
Yeah, it's not natural light.
Is that what it is?
Yep, natural light's kind of.
See, I even know the levels of beer, like the status levels.
Yeah.
Because if you're drinking Natty Light,
PBR,
right?
If you know the initials,
right?
Well, of course, I bring that up, and if you're watching this on any of our social media, you see there is a can of Bud Light, which is interesting because we are in our studio, which is in one of the offices at our accounting and advisory firm. So when you start bringing beer into your accounting firm, people are like, is that legal? Can you have beer? Most clients would probably want
Right. I was going to say it might be beneficial.
A beverage like that.
Right.
Of course, you can't sign legally a document being under the influence. So no, we don't.
They thought this podcast got really rowdy.
Right.
Like when they first see it on YouTube, and it's like, oh my God, there's a Bud Light on.
Right.
Like where did Dr.
These boys
Nate
are getting
go?
into it.
Right. So why do you bring the bottle of Bud Light? Obviously, currently, with the circumstances surrounding Budweiser and the huge challenge they're having recovering from a media campaign not too long ago, which portrayed a completely different brand message and image than what is accustomed to by their end user. And so I think this is a great conversation to have among us as entrepreneurs, as we share our entrepreneurial journey, small, medium, large businesses. It is irrelevant. It's the same philosophy on how do we build our reputation? What is our brand? And of course, our reputation makes our expectation. And so I'm going to just tee it up a little bit for any listener who hasn't heard about what's happened. So Budweiser had a campaign which approached Bud Light, which is one of their flagship products, from an inclusive and diversity perspective. And an individual named Dylan Mulvaney was promoting the product for a transgender community. And so, some might argue, well, there is no transgender community. It's irrelevant. And it's irrelevant for this conversation, what people's position is on any of these social and political topics. The focus for us will be on what do we do to build our brand and to create cohesiveness and an understanding of our end user and how they view us and whether or not they want to stay with us based on the trajectory and the path we're taking them on, right? So that's the question mark. Okay, so Budweiser, since then, has let go of some people in different aspects of the business, i.e. one of them was the marketing director. I'm not sure what the C-suite title was. Right. Yeah. So what are some initial thoughts that come to your mind as we start to unpack this?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is, and I can't wrap my head around, right, why any company chooses to put their foot into a political arena, right? Like, okay, I totally understand inclusivity, diversity, celebrate it, right? Like I'm for it. But you actually are not being inclusive or diverse when you start picking specific groups that you want to market alongside, right? Especially a company like Anheuser-Busch that has been around for 150 years, right? I mean, they have their very specific targeted market. They're the largest. I'm sure they're the largest beer manufacturer in the world. I don't understand what drives the executives today to even worry about putting their foot. I mean, look at Disney, right? Like, look at these companies that just keep wanting to be quote unquote progressive. And that's fine if you have progressive ideals as a person, right? But your organization should just focus on what it does. Yeah. Just focus on what you do. You don't have to take a side, right? Like, nobody was reaching out to Bud Light and saying, you know what, I'm not going to drink you because you're not being inclusive or diverse enough, right? I seriously doubt that message was coming across. And so take out the fact that they, pretty much alienated their core group that has been drinking this since they were 21 years old, right? Take out the political side that they chose. I don't think companies, big or small, unless you are a political organization, for me, the best bet is just not to have an opinion publicly from a company standpoint. But if you're the director of marketing on your personal branding, you want to talk about how you celebrate inclusivity and you celebrate diversity, fine, right? But, the first thing you learn in business school is a corporation is its own entity, right? And so that entity shouldn't have a political stance one way or the other. I don't believe. I think you just alienate. You run more. There's more risk than reward in that circumstance.
Yeah, I think they kind of missed the mark on where the country's at. Right? It's like Travis said, taking a stance like that, you've alienated at least 50% of the country in your base.
Yeah.
It's just sell beer, man. Like, why does everyone have to take a political stance with every product now? It's like, and that's part of the problem, right? We're integrating these social issues in our brands, in our messages on TV, in our media. Like, that's why this is all people like the news, just report the news. Mm-hmm. Like the Ted Koppels of the world, like, they're all gone, right? No one just tells the news anymore. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone has something they're pushing onto you, and the country's sick of it. That's what you saw. No one's for this. That the woker you are, the broker you're going to get. And that's just the truth right now, right? I'm sure there's a lot of substance to being empathetic to things and being, woke's kind of got a bad,
connotation.
Connotation, right? Because I'm sure I've been told that that's not what it means, right? By good friends of mine. But regardless, we're being forced to accept things like this that are not typically part of the American culture. Like, depending on what religious background you have, depending on how you grew up, you're going to perceive this different, right? And said, hey, this transgender, this, whatever you're pushing with your product, what did you just do? You alienated your customer base. Disney alienated their customer base. They could have just, paid me or Travis or you to just consult them, and would have saved them billions of dollars. Right. Like, it's to me, it's fascinating that these companies with all this money and all this talent make mistakes like this.
I mean, to me, it's basic, right? I mean,
it's basic.
Life comes down to risk and reward. And, if I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I'm the marketing director and my marketing team brings us in, and I you have to everybody understands the political landscape, right? And I'm not trying to make a call one way or the other, but somebody brings us in and it's like, ooh, like, why do we need to do this? Like, we're we're a large beer manufacturer, right? Like, why do we need to take such a huge risk with such a small reward? Right. I mean, because you're talking about, I don't know, specifically with transgendered community, right? Like maybe 0.5%. You know what I mean? Maybe 1% of the population. I'm not sure. I mean, even if you went to the full LGBTQ, IA, whatever, you're still talking about a very small segment of the population that you run a risk of alienating the other people who don't agree with that. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't agree with it. I'm just saying from a business perspective, right? Dollars and cents. You can't take such a large risk that has such a minimal reward.
They could have just paid you $1 billion to just tell them.
$100 million, and I would have been fine.
And the thing is, everything we see now, there's agenda based. Sports, it's in sports now. People just want to watch sports, buy beer, go to Disney,
live their life,
and not have all these things pushed on them. And what's happening right now, and I'll tell you what's happening, people are revolting against it. And I will say, I'll go out on a limb and tell you the whole political landscape, our government's pushing this on us. Like it's a problem. And you wonder why, why are we so divided? Well, we're divided because you're shoving stuff down my throat every day that I don't want to accept. So now if I push back, I'm alienating myself and you, and I'm either a far right person or you're a far left person. It's all this it's very easy to divide the country right now because depending on what you say, what I'm saying right now is going to perceive by someone who's very left as a far right perspective, right? But at the end of the day, it's like religion. Like Michael Jordan said it, right? The best. And I think today it holds value. Who do you say? Republicans buy Jordans too. Conservatives buy Jordans too. Michael Jordan didn't come out and take political stances and things like that. He has one of the most valuable companies in the world, right? You're wearing Jordans right now. I'm wearing Jordans right now. People who never picked up a basketball are wearing Jordans right now. I see everyone from all walks of life wearing Jordans now. It's crazy. When I grew up, it was like basketball players wore Jordans, or if you were into basketball, it's the only reason you had Jordans on. Or it was inner city or urban or something like that. Now it's like yuppie, high dollar. It's a fashion statement. Yeah. Why is that? You think if Jordan took a stance like that, you think that would have reached this many people?
No, and I remember there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of pressure on Jordan to make statements for the African American community back in the day, and I think specifically with the riots in LA back in the early 90s, right? And he didn't. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter what your personal feelings are. It matters what the organizational goals are. You know what I mean? And the organizational goals should always be market share, right? As much as possible. And when you start putting yourself in the political world, you're going to alienate one group or another. It's impossible.
It's bad leadership, Travis.
It's impossible.
It's bad leadership.
It is bad leadership.
So if you're leading this Fortune 500 company, whatever it is, and we're going to run this campaign, has anyone said, hey, this is a bad idea. This could blow up.
People who got fired didn't say it was a bad idea, right? And they've been removed. And now, and the crazy thing is it's Bud Light. I mean, let's just be real, right? 10 years from now, nobody's probably going to be talking about this with Bud Light, right? They will regain their market share eventually over time. But right now, I think they're down 20%. They just got, downgraded from a buy to a hold on the stock market. They're losing their rear end, right? And their number one priority is returning shareholder value. They're failing at that right now miserably, right? Because they tried to put their foot somewhere that they didn't need to. It was a self-inflicted gunshot wound that they did to themselves. Yeah. Nobody was saying, you need to take a stance on this, Bud Light. Where do you fall on this spectrum? Right. They just jumped in 2 feet in and said, here's where we are. And that's what happens.
And Disney did the same. It's just, to me, I wonder if they're getting pressure from somewhere else, to do these kind of things.
And maybe they are. Maybe they have employees that are having a push, and employees want to do this. But at the end of the day, that's why you're in the C-suite, right? Because you've got to be able to take a step back and not get caught up in any type of peer pressure and say, what is the best? I mean, I've had this conversation so many different times. It's not about me. It's about the organization, right? What is the best thing for the organization? When I'm out doing my own thing, do whatever I want, right? Like that's my right as a United States citizen to speak my mind. But when you're in charge of a brand and you're in charge of a company, the company has to come first, always. And you have to be able to take that pressure as a C-suite and say, this is not the right decision. We support you, but this is not the right decision because, and lay out, right? Here is our customer base, right? Yeah. Conservative Americans, you know what I mean? Like rural Americans, like this is who we target. This is who drinks our beer, right? If we do this, what's the ramifications? And it blows my mind that they couldn't just roll that out on a whiteboard, you know what I mean? And just say, if we do X, Y, and Z is coming right after it. You know?
I think that, you know, the climate of, you know, America right now, we're not ready for all this. Like we're not in a position, like more and more and more of this keeps triggering division and, you know, consumers revolting against brands. It's just, I don't know, like Travis, like you said, it blows my mind that someone didn't say, hey, bad idea.
And especially with social media, right? Like, I mean, I think that if this was something that happened back in the 90s, right, you'd have some blowback, but you wouldn't be able to watch millions of people make a video on their Twitter or on their Facebook or Instagram, right? And say, burning my beer. You know what I mean? Like showing the visceral reaction, which then compounds, right? And makes other people who maybe just have like some reaction like, oh, that it forces people to make a decision. You know what I mean? You're forcing people to make a decision one way or the other, right?
So we don't drink beer. So at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, if they dress this up as a, you know, trans.
But what if you were a shareholder?
I am a shareholder in Anheuser-Busch, and this does not make me happy.
And it matters to you.
It matters to me immensely, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Think about it, we have to peel back. Let's a couple of the layers. One, on the one hand, you tempted to say this is like a rookie move. But even rookies don't do this. No. Like a rookie in business is going to say, who is my ideal client and how do I speak their language? Because I need to touch them in such a way that compels them to want to do business with me. And that's if you are a business owner. If you're a fiduciary, which is what the C-suite is, by the way, they don't own the company. They are agents working on behalf of who? The shareholders, right? Because the shareholders are the ones who own the company, you and everyone else who owns the company. And so imagine a shareholder meeting and say, hey, this is the direction we're going to go. Here's the statistics. Statistics show that when we break so hard from our message that's been tried and true for the last how many years, likely we will lose 20% market share. Owners of the company, is this a direction that we should go, right? That's what you're saying. It's mind-boggling, right? Anybody in a room
would say no.
Absolutely not. I mean, you don't have to be a seasoned entrepreneur. We could pluck someone out of college. We can pluck a teenager out of a high school classroom, right? So then you say, well, where's the breakdown, right? So
they didn't do their homework. I mean, they didn't do, you know, market.
Well, or they
research.
did, and they just said, you know what, we want to make a stance, right? We want to show our identity, and I'm sure that everybody had good intentions, right? Like we want to speak to a new market that's coming up, right? I mean, let's look at it. Bud Light's probably drank mostly by conservatives, right? So do we want to break into the more liberal market? But you have to understand that there are consequences for every action and there's a reaction for every action.
True. And a smarter move is, well, do we already have a product that speaks to that group? If we don't, let's create one.
Create one.
I mean, it's just that basic, right? So if this, just like in any of our businesses, right? If I have a product that speaks to this customer and it works for that customer, why would I want to change that product so it no longer works for that customer? And you say, well, Nate, it just tastes the same, but it's not that. The messaging makes a huge difference because that's our reputation that I built.
You know who really nailed that? I just know his name's the Colonel, the guy who was the manager for Elvis. So when they started, he had all these I Love Elvis pins. He also created I Elvis. He created both. And so, and Elvis was upset. He's like, why would you make something like this? And he's like, because there's a population that loves you and there's a population that hates you. And I want you to make money off of both.
Nice.
And so they sold both. I hate Elvis. I love Elvis,
so
right?
brilliant.
I'm sure there were lots of parents who were like, that was gyrating hips. If my daughter looks at that one more time.
Correct. I mean, it was a massive deal, right? Elvis was a big deal, both a good way and a bad way. But he understood it's a business, right? And there's a commodity that's being sold. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't know how many different products InBev has, but I'm sure it's more than 5 or 6, right?
Right.
So why not create a product specifically targeted to your market that keeps your classic customers there and allows you to just gain market share instead of also losing market share, trying to capture this 0.5% and make a political statement?
Interesting about Bud Light. So Mulvaney, who's gained tremendous exposure and notoriety through this, was also a part of a number of different campaigns with different brands. One of them was for Maybelline makeup. One of them was for Nike sports bras. One of them, scratching your head, interestingly, was for Tampax.
Makes 0 sense.
Because this individual is still biologically
a male.
Yeah. However,
biologically,
yes,
that doesn't hold any weight with me.
Well, I mean, that's the question. It's like, okay, you're advertising tampons, right?
Being sarcastic.
Yeah, right.
Just yeah.
So we asked some women what they thought about that, and one of the reoccurring comments was, it's really demeaning because every single month I've got to struggle and suffer with something you will never understand. And I feel as though I'm being belittled, and it's the opposite message of what I would ever want to hear. And I couldn't understand that either. And back to decisions, right? At a company level. But the other piece is this. What's different about Bud Light? Because Nike's still on a course, people are still buying Nikes. There's really not a whole lot of pushback. There's some, but not, you haven't lost your base. Same thing with these other brands. What's different? What is so visceral about Bud Light that's different than these other brands?
Their consumer base is, like Travis said, probably farther to the right than any other.
Absolutely. It's a blue collar beer. Like it's a blue collar beer. And like, Nike has always been more on the progressive side, right?
Yeah, so
they're from Portland, right? Like, they're very progressive. That is right. Like,
yeah,
and Nike is so big. Not that InBev isn't big, but Nike is so big that it's like, what's the dent that's really going to happen, right? What's the dent? You beer's a different market, right? First of all, there's age that's in there, right? There's the fact that people don't drink. Everybody wears clothes, so your target market is much wider with Nike, right? And it's not the Tampax thing to me blows my mind, right? Like, so you're a product for a woman and you have a white male selling your product. If you think about, let's just go down the rabbit hole a little bit, right? The left talks a lot about, right? Like, we need equality, right? Between men and women, right? That's always been a big push. Totally agree. White males are pretty much, not the flavor of the month.
Sorry,
right?
dude.
Right, yeah, right. Like I'm like not the flavor of the month, right? But then you have a white male who has, gone to be a transgendered female that will never have the ability to menstruate, and you're having this person sell Tampax. Like, to me, it's degrading to women.
Yeah.
That you would be so audacious as to say that a woman is going to buy your product when you have a male who is trying to sell it. It doesn't make sense.
Men and women are being attacked.
1,000%.
So being a masculine man is frowned upon, I believe, these days. You know what I mean? The more, the caretaker, the father, the soldier, the person, the traditional male,
right, yeah.
takes care of his family, provides, takes care of them. You know what I mean? These kind of like a masculine man, right? I feel like society gets uncomfortable when someone is like that, right? Because we're not the flavor of the month. That's not the flavor of the month either, right? It's the, you know, be whatever you feel like you are, and I'm going to support it. Even if science doesn't, we're going to move here on what we believe is fact and fiction, right? So again, like I'm 100% for equal rights, LGBTQ, like I'm for all of it. I'm 100% in, right? You know, but where I personally see what's happening is we can't agree on the very basics anymore, which is science, biology. We're trying to change what is real because of feelings, because someone feels. I mean, this is a real hot topic. I'm sure there's going to be people that I'm going to get hate mail, some hate messages after this on Instagram or whatever.
It's contentious. It's contentious.
But end of the day, like this is real. Yeah, like this is real. Like I'm okay with supporting you as a gay male, as a gay female, as a trans. I support you being who you want to be, right?
And have equal opportunities, equal rights, and equal access.
But 100%. where I think society is pushing on us, on society everywhere, is like, accept this even though it's not. Right. Like the menstrual cycle thing. Like it's not happening. So like how...
Why does this make sense?
Right? Or why does this make sense? Because now, I'll tell you where it makes sense. Because society in general does not want to hurt someone else's feelings and wants everyone to feel inclusive. And in doing that, we have created an environment of just, we're not supporting factual data because we're afraid of hurting a segment's feelings. And we're trying to change the vast majority of what we know to accommodate 1%.
A very small percentage.
Right. And now in business, that's just that's an insane approach. Right. That's suicide if you do it enough. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
So, and what this taught me and what I noticed about the country, we're not ready for that. This country is not there. Like we are, like just the reaction of Bud Light, Disney. I mean, all these different things. Like,
well, even there's one thing we haven't talked about is Jack Daniel's had a big. They did a marketing campaign with RuPaul, and some other transgender drag queens, right? And there was a huge backlash. Like, who thinks that people who drink Jack Daniel's want, like, they don't relate to that, right? Like, that's not in their ecosystem, right? Like, if you go to rural Kentucky where people are drinking Jack Daniel's, like I think I can go out on this limb here and say you're probably not going to have a lot of bars that are having drag shows, right?
Probably not.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Like, you have to understand the business of selling your product, not appeasing a societal push one way or the other.
I don't want society to tell me how to raise my kids also. No. So now I have to, TV's on, I have to, the wrong commercial comes on. We all know what we're talking about. And now I have to talk. I have to have a conversation with my, 8-year-old or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so,
I think you hit the nail on the head where it's like people they want to live their lives, right? They want to drink their beer. They want to watch their sports.
Yeah.
Life is hard enough as it is, right? Like,
it's a release.
That's you're starting, they want to go to Disney World once a year. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that are baked into Americana, right? Like, this is who Americans are, right? We work hard. Life is hard. It's stressed out. Inflation's all over the place, right? This is not an easy time to be alive.
No, it's going great, buddy. It's things are amazing. You don't know where we're coming back.
Right.
It's awesome.
It's not a good time. And so, companies need to double down on just focusing on how do we maintain, right? Because that 20% market share, there's going to be ramifications that happen internally to the organization, right? Because they can't continue to spend like they used to spend when now you have 20% less revenue coming in. So does that mean that somebody loses their job, right? Outside of the people who made the decision to run the ad, people who had no input, no feelings one way or the other about this campaign, are those people now going to lose their jobs because somebody wanted to, make a political statement with their product? And that's the things that I don't think executives really put enough weight into, is the absolute responsibility you have for your brand, for your company, and for your employees to make sure that the decisions you're making and the filters that you should have in your brain as you're making these decisions, how is this going to affect everybody that I'm responsible for?
Well said. And they're learning the lesson, right? And what does that mean for other brands?
I don't think Coors is going to be making any type of, I think, if I was another brand right now, you got to be careful with it, with how you do it, right? Because you definitely don't, it is such a political environment that if you came out and just attacked them straight on, right? And said, let's just say I'm Coors and we're banquet, the banquet of beers and we're for America, whatever you say, you got to be careful, but you do open up. Now there's 20% of the population of beer drinkers that don't have a brand that they're real loyal to right now, right? They're probably going through a couple different beers. This doesn't taste as great, but the branding is there, the messaging is there. So, like a PBR, right? Like a smaller little company here can kind of go directly at them, right? Because they're going to have such a big increase. If you're a large beer manufacturer, you got to be careful, right? I mean, same thing. You can't make the same mistake Bud Light did in reverse, and target those 20% of that population, because we all know the country's about 50-50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like,
it's always been that way.
It's 50-50. So just stay in the middle, right? It blows my mind. Stay in the middle. Appeal to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I look at this can and I'm like, oh, like if I were, a transgender person and say, well, there's something about this that doesn't speak to me. No, it's a blue can that says Bud Light and it's got beer in it. Like,
you're not going to speak to everybody.
You're not going to, but it's just, I don't know. It was a really bad mistake. They will study this mistake for years and years and years and years at college level business classes. This will be a case study. Yeah. On a massive scale.
I will forever have Kid Rock, shooting these cans on.
Oh, it is all over.
It is everywhere, man.
It is everywhere. Wow. That was something else. More to come. Next week, we're going to dive into the divisive issues of what we found in a very controversial subject of males competing in women's sports, the business around it, and what's happening in that world. These are barn burners. I'm so glad you're joining us. I hope these episodes are helping you to illuminate a better way to do leadership.